Daughters of May, it's Riasha. Welcome to May We Talk series, episode 12. Today we'll be talking to Anu. She is an artist, entrepreneur, and actress. And we'll be talking to her about identity in the arts and allyship. But first of all, how is everyone today? It is a really interesting start to the week in the UK. For those of you that know, we have had the strangest, or maybe it's to be expected, weather. Now, I know it's very English to talk about the weather, but seriously, I just need a disclaimer because the tree is rattling near the window. So if you hear any banging, any strange noises, it's most likely the weather outside. So be safe, stay inside with us, and tune in to this episode with myself and Anu to stay safe, I think is the best bet today. If you can't do that, then maybe you're on your lunch break. I hope you're joining us and you're going to get a lot from this conversation. Today I'm actually listening to a song called Confidence by Emma V, and that will hopefully give us a nice segue into the first point, which is identity. And obviously, here we promote wellbeing, mental health, and within that comes confidence, self-esteem, and these things are often tied to our identity. So I'll just pause that there. To me, identity in the arts is how people see me and how I see myself, and then the stories I choose to tell or am given to tell on stage. And the life that I bring to them has a lot to do with what I think about myself and also what I think about the world around me. If I'm to look at my own identity, then I would consider myself a British person, a Black woman, someone of Caribbean heritage, a cis person, heterosexual person, someone that is an adult in their adulthood, so I've come through emerging adulthood now, not quite middle-aged, neurodiverse, all of these things. So that with a few surface attributes, we're able to get a whole roster of labels and identities that I may see myself as, or I may be perceived as, and they all affect my work when I work on stage as an artist and actress. Secondly, we're going to be talking about allyship. Allyship is a term that is highly popular. It can sometimes be used interchangeably with inclusion. We've also spoken on May We Talk series about imposter syndrome, and this may tie in slightly to allyship and how we can really support people around us, be that support mechanism, and also find support through our allies to avoid maybe feelings of imposter syndrome and to make sure that the environment is a much nicer one for all of us. I like to look at it as one idea, which I wrote down, that inclusion is working alongside and making space at the table for marginalised groups or individuals, whereas allyship seeks to uplift the voices of the marginalised people at the table and advocate for them to be heard specifically and directly, not via us, so that they can speak on their own behalf and move forward just for a more balanced environment for us all. So hopefully that differentiates what inclusion and allyship are and gives you a nice intro as to what we'll be talking about today. Just before I invite Anu onto the chat, I can see she's here with us. Let me wave. Some of you may or may not know that overnight or in the early hours, a young person, a Black man named Jamal Edwards, passed away. Those of you that know will know that he is the son of Brenda Edwards, a presenter and a performer within the arts, and he also worked extensively in the arts, in the music industry. He created SBTV and also helped pioneer and launch many artists. So I think it's extremely important to just give him a moment to recognize his life and achievements. And he did a lot for inclusion also. A quote I have here is, "Diversity is something that is so important to me. I'm passionate that there should be no limitations for anyone in an industry." And I think that speaks so well to what we're talking about today. So we would just like to send our condolences to the Edwards family, and obviously just keep that in mind today for people that are also pushing for inclusion, equality, and the well-being of Black people and all of us. Because if we don't push for that for other people, then it's not going to be there for us. But let me get off my soapbox and invite Anu to our chat. Okay. Inviting. I get so nervous at this point. I'm just like, please, technology, please work today. Any of you that join us, you know how I feel about Instagram Live. Hello, Anu. Anu, so good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, my darling. How are you?
I am good. I'm having like a really weird picture just here. It's gone dark. Does it look normal to you on your side?
My side's good.
It's good. I'm just going to go with that then. I'm going to go with that. Do let us know in the comments if you have any technical glitches on your side. And you said that she can see me. I think she looks beautiful. I can see her and her gorgeous background. So, and you. Let me just say, wow, it's been a long time. This connection has been in the works. I think your sound has just fallen out a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah.
And also, let's just get set up. No, it's been a little while. I always forget to put these in.
Go for it.
Oh, wait. Okay. So, Anu, as I introduced you already, you're an actress. I'm going to say singer too. You're an actress, singer, dancer, triple threat up in here, okay? Because we're not here for modesty. I'm here to celebrate my sisters. Triple threat, artist, entrepreneur of recent times as well. And let me just see. I have written down some things about you, my friend. Currently performing in Tina, the musical, on London's West End. People. She is also exploring other artistic outlets in the form of line drawing, creating handmade rugs, totes, prints, canvases. Listen, we're going to get into it because sweatshirts, fashion, I've had to stop myself from buying some of Anu's products just because they're so beautiful and so Moorish. Like it just helped me celebrate myself as a Black woman and as an artist, and just many other things as well. And there's a lot of wellness within it woven through, which I'm sure you'll tell us more about. But what I really love to mention to everyone is that Anu also created Daughters of May's logo. So she is what's behind the image that you see when you come onto Daughters of May. So I've spoken enough. Anu, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Thank you so much for the kind words. Honestly, that is just
all facts.
It's more than whatever. But yeah, I guess all of those things. And it's so weird because even when like saying those things, it's weird to say because they're all things that have just come really naturally to me. In the sense of, I think when you find your grind in your art or wherever you're meant to be, it just feels right.
Right.
So yeah, it's been nice kind of exploring to get to where I get to with my art, and just having that as a identity now, and that's part of kind of who I am. And it's weird to have that line under kind of where you're going with that and how I got there, because it's just something I enjoyed, and now people identify me as an artist, and it's like, whoa, like how did we get here? It was just, I just enjoyed sitting in my corner and drawing, and now it's like, oh yeah, you're an artist. And
yes, you are.
It's like what you were saying earlier about imposter syndrome, like that. When I started selling my art, it was majorly that. It was, why would anyone want to buy what I'm just drawing? It's just things that I enjoy doing, and it's something I did over lockdown to help with my mental health. And when people kind of said, you know, oh, that's really cool, like I want to have it, it just blew my mind. So I still don't feel like Thank
You're
you.
awesome, and you need to maybe just write down, not to give you unsolicited advice, but write down the things people say so that you can reflect on them, or just have a moment to sit. Because I have, just on a personal level, obviously we'll get into it later, but we've worked together, and I get auntie big sister vibes, just in that I've been able to see you grow. Like, obviously I've grown as well, because there's not that much between us, but like, the person that you've become and you're becoming is so wonderful to see you taking ownership of like your power. Because I always looked at you like, damn, she's talented, she's so talented. Like, she's so talented. For those of you that are just joining us, me and Anu worked together in a production. Can I say which one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we worked together on Mary Poppins, and we shared a role. And Anu also danced in the production, as well as doing one of that leading supporting role. And she's just crazy talented, super low key and chill about it, to the point of I'm like, does she see herself? So it's been awesome to see you fly, and also to expand in these different ways as well. Before we get into the first lot of questions, let's see who we've got joining us so far. So many, I think, from your lovely platform. Miss Mac, maybe, or Miss Mac. Online Lindsay, and Grimshaw. Nice to see you there. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, thank you. Hope you've got your teas as well, because I know Anu's got one, and I definitely got one.
Wait, can you see me? Am I?
I can see you. It was a little bit pixelated. Oh, hi, Shania. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Capitum. Oh my gosh, is that who I think it is? Is that Matt? That's awesome. Yeah, I can see you. It's a little bit distorted at times, but it might just be like the connection, and it will come in and out.
Completely gone off.
Has it?
Yeah, as I can't see anything. I don't know if it's worth me.
Let me see if I can before you go. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna get rid of you, hopefully, and then re-invite you. I don't know how to do that, so just bear with us all, and then we'll just see if we can sort out this technical glitch. Right, because you're already joined. So leave. I'll keep this running, and I'll re-invite you. So for those of you that have just joined, thank you so much for joining us. It is Daughters of May, May We Talk series, episode 12. We've got Anu joining us, who is an artist, actress, and entrepreneur. She's had a little technical issue, so I'm going to get her back on the live right now. So just bear with me. Here we go. She's invited, and she's about to rejoin. Thank you so much for joining us today on this very windy Monday. Just waving at a few of you. And I think I recognize some of you in the comments as well, so that's really, really cool. Anu is just about to join us, and we're going to be talking today about identity in the arts, and talking about allyship and what that means to her, and what that means to myself as well. As Anu is just sorting out her technical side, I hope that you're able to stay online with us, because it's going to be an awesome, awesome episode. Here she comes. I'm just waving at her. Invite. So it says she's invited, and I'm really, really hoping that she's able to jump on with us. So as we were saying earlier, identity in the arts, to me, is something that I take very personally, just because obviously I show up within the industry as a Black woman straight away, like cis Black woman, from the Midlands. These are all outer labels which are very apparent. So these are things that sometimes work for me, but they also can work against me. Age can sometimes be a component. She's back. That's so much clearer, Anu.
Yeah,
so much clearer. That's awesome.
I don't know
Are you
what
good?
was going on. Yeah, it was some. I think it's because I have the take a break thing on Instagram that comes.
Oh, that's hilarious. So, for those that don't know, like, it's awesome to use take a break and screen time measures for your usage on social media. You know, if you, especially if you have to use it a lot for your business, I get it.
Yeah.
Myself, I literally 5 minutes before have to turn off the screen time thing, put on the do not disturb. I get it, so don't worry.
It's
Welcome
literally.
again. I can see Claire's just joined us and we both know her. Hi, Claire. Hey, darling. Please, can you reintroduce yourself for those that have just joined, and then we'll get straight into it.
Yes, so I am Anu, and I am an actress slash artist, and
Yes.
like yeah, and it's me, and we're here to talk about all things art and allyship, and it's gonna be a great conversation.
It is. So let's get straight into it. What does the term, and there's no right or wrong because it means, I explained what it means to me earlier on today, but what does the term identity mean to you, Anu?
The term identity, I think for me, especially with my background, so I'm fostered, and finding my identity kind of through life has been an ongoing thing, because there's never been a clear path of it. Identity can come in so many forms. I think it can be a thing that other people identify you as, and it can be ownership of yourself. I don't think it's such a clear-cut thing of this is who you are, this
Absolutely.
is your box, this is, sometimes it's a box that other people put you in, and you don't even want that for yourself. And I think in today's society especially, I think it's so easy to kind of go in with descriptors for people and kind of put them into a conditioned box before they're even okay with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's also space for fluidity within some of the attributes that we're given or that we see ourselves within, because we grow and change and we're multifaceted. So obviously those things about us will change. I've definitely seen that. I don't know about yourself, but since I've grown and changed as a person, the roles that come up for me in auditions have also changed, not just based on my appearance, literally based on how I see myself. I've seen the more regal, the more self-assured roles come up as I have grown into my womanhood. Do you feel like some of the internal descriptors that you have for yourself that maybe are personal, maybe are to do with your emotional life or your personality, have change the way that you're seen by others in your artwork or in your acting work?
Definitely. I think it's so funny because yesterday I was on for Gigi,
I saw that,
which is the grandmother, and we were joking because I was like, I'm 28 and this is my casting at the moment.
And just so that you know, for those of you just joined, Anu is multi-talented, and one of her roles is as a cover Gigi, which is the grandmother in Tina, a West End production. So yeah, carry on.
And we were just saying kind of like, oh, is this my kind of like the way my casting is going? Like, it's like older, I'm just gonna get older. I've got nowhere else to go now, really. But
just means you got range. You got range, honey. You got range.
Just keep going. And I think one of my cast members was like, "Oh, it's because you're wise. Like you've got such an old soul."
You have.
And I was like, "Thank you for trying to save it," but I do get that a lot. Thanks for being nice.
You do.
But I do get that a lot. I've always kind of been just happy to be, you know, sitting at home or kind of just that kind of natural.
The sound's just fallen out a little bit in you. Can you hear me?
Oh,
what I'm going to ask you, because we missed just the last bit of what you said, if you have Wi-Fi, maybe try without the Wi-Fi and use, I hope this doesn't backfire on me, but maybe try to just use your network provider, because sometimes when it's on Wi-Fi, it falls in and out. Just from experience, trust me, the first 3 episodes I did on Wi-Fi, and Daughters of May can vouch that it was a roller coaster. All good?
It's on my 4G.
Okay. So we're just waiting for Anu to reconnect with us. I think she's just having a couple technical difficulties. It is very windy outside. It could even be that. So no worries. I think she's back with us now.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's a little bit distorted, so we're going in and out. But anytime that you're gone, I will maybe disconnect and reconnect you. So just bear with us, Daughters of May. You know how it can be. This is live, okay? I would like to ask you, when it comes to identity, and you, how have you? Let me rephrase that. What self-ascribed descriptors or labels have you given to yourself at this point in your life, that you're happy to share, and what labels or descriptors have been put upon you by society? And that can be society wide or in relation to the arts industry.
I think a descriptor people put upon me, and it's so funny because I think the way I view myself and the way society views me are completely different. They're so polar opposite. And when anyone ever meets me, they think I'm quite, outgoing and a bit of an extrovert. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I'm such an introvert. I love my own face. I love, like, my boyfriend jokes.
In your glasses, with your little drink, making your rugs. I see you.
Nanotherapy, just all day, every day at home.
Nanotherapy.
It's just, my boyfriend laughs at me because he's like, if you were like, again, if there's another lockdown, if anything had to happen, he was like, I just wouldn't worry about you. You would just be absolutely fine. You're cool.
Yeah.
You're so fine. And it's so funny because I don't know whether it is transcending, or I don't know how, but everyone always gets kind of, oh, you're an extrovert, oh, you must be out all the time. And I think it's because if I get on with someone, I just really get on with them. And
yes,
I think people take that for being, oh, well, you're a people person and you're always out.
You know what's funny? I didn't realize how alike we were in that, because I think being the only child but having a massive family, I can easily flow between the two. So I'm more of an ambivert, I would say. I can be around people and enjoy that, but I do also find it draining, similar to what would be described as an introvert, and I need to recharge and be by myself, and I love my own company, and I don't need to be around lots of people, and I actually prefer sometimes to be alone. So I can completely relate to that. And people sometimes, when you are a performer, perceive you as being automatically extrovert, right? And more than often, it's either a performance or it's just not the case. Some people are, but more often than not, I've also found that they're not. It's just like a facade, or they're like,
And it's that thing, I think, where, I don't know if you felt it, I know a lot of performers do. It's that thing of, when you're at work especially, you feel like you kind of have to be on all the time.
Yes.
And
it's
you kind of have to, and I was speaking to my brother about this, and he's a poet, and we're very similar, and he's doing this thing at the moment where he's just kind of being, then whatever space he's in, he's trying to just be. And so, because he said that a lot of people are getting offended by that, because he's usually bubbly self, but he's like, I can't always perform for people. It's not healthy. And I think it's so expected of us, if you walk into work and you're not, instantly like vibrant, everyone thinks something's up, and it's like, no, it's just not where I'm at today, and it's not a bad thing. It's not against anyone. It's just where I'm at. And when you have to go on stage every night and perform as a different person, that takes energy in itself. And you don't always have the energy to give backstage, or to give in your dressing room, or to give that kind of, having that conversation. Sometimes you do just literally need to be in your little bubble, and that's okay.
I always say to my co-workers in my dressing room, like, we're here all year. Like, if you don't get me, the fullness of me today, or we don't have this conversation today, we're here all year. Like, God willing, I know things, you know, have changed, and obviously we've had the industry shut down, and I don't say that lightly because it affected us massively. I think it's fair to speak on behalf of us massively, right? But that being said, we're here now, and I cannot be 100 every day as far as the energy emission that you're expecting, or you know, maybe requiring. And it's not. I think it's interesting what your brother said. It's not a reflection of that other person. That's them taking it personally. It's literally just you conserving yourself so that you can be your best self, I think. And I think it's good. I think it's good. But it takes a lot of confidence to show up as your authentic self, I think. And I've also found, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I've had to like relinquish responsibility of being the Black woman in the building. It's easier when there's more than just the one of you, because then you can share like, okay, you be the Black woman today. But like, you know, like the weight of living up to expectations of what the Black woman is, avoiding the stereotypes of what, you know, the negative stereotypes of what people might think she is, and representing the whole nation of various ethnicities of Black woman is a lot. And I think sometimes it's pressure that we give to ourselves, but also it is a real experience sometimes when you just don't want to step out and like, you know, I can't even put it into words. I can't be articulate about this for some reason. You don't want to let your race down, but you also are more than your race, and you don't represent the whole. There is no Black race as far as in my belief system, so it's just a lot. It's a lot sometimes when you show up in white spaces or spaces where you're a minority or marginalised, and you are seen as a poster child for that thing. And I think that's draining too. And I'm allowed to have good and bad days, regardless of that descriptor. How have you found that experience?
It's that exact thing is what has been the hardest thing my whole entire life, because I think visions of especially a Black woman, it has transcended through the decades and through from being young to now, but it's always that thing. I remember being younger and everyone being like, oh, you know, you must be really sassy, like, and it's like, no. Why would you think that? Like, why? Just why?
Can I just interject? Do you remember when we were doing Poppins, right? And it was the first, maybe you don't, because I took it personal, but it was the first review I got that I was like, this is a really good review, but the woman said that I was sassy, and I was like, no!
Come on now.
It was a compliment, but I was like, of all the words, of all the adjectives, come on.
It's just lazy. It's lazy because
it is.
It's not at all. It's just, it gets me so irked because it's a stereotype, and you haven't actually bothered to get to know someone.
Yes.
Like I've had to find so much strength in owning my softness as a Black woman, because if you're not sassy, if you're not outspoken, if you're not any of those descriptors, then it's like, oh, you're a bit weak. And it's like, no, it doesn't.
I'm just not living up to your stereotype. I'm me.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm me.
And then vice versa, Anu, like if you decide to speak up on something that you care about, also not being accelerated to being aggressive when, you know, your coworker may say the same thing and it be read differently. I think it has been a journey to navigate that, and then to also release it and be like, that's not even my problem.
Exactly.
This is your baggage.
This is not on me. Honestly, it's that thing of like, as soon as you're passionate about something, we all know, like from cultures, and a lot in African culture, we do talk with our hands more. We are more expressive as a culture, but I think that's taken on as aggression. And
sometimes,
it's like, and it's like, if you're listening to the tone of my voice, if you're listening to what I'm actually saying, in no way can this be aggressive, but you've chosen to take this on because of the colour of my skin.
Yes.
And it's not okay. Microaggressions are not okay. They're still happening on a day-to-day basis, because it's so ingrained in people, and they just don't.
Oh, she's making some good points, and it's just cut out a little bit. Okay, she's back. She's back. Yes, go ahead. You were saying it's so ingrained in some people.
Again. Yeah,
oh,
it's
no.
just ingrained in some people. It's okay. I can see you, so if I
okay, we can see you. You look wonderful. Your background is wonderful. If it becomes annoying that you can't see yourself, as we move on to the next point, I can disconnect and reconnect you so it's more comfortable for you. Okay. So yeah, just to finish, round off that point. I have definitely struggled, I would say, with mental health and anxiety. Actually, unfortunately, during the production that we shared. So I don't like to go into it too much, not because I don't want to be transparent, but also because we have a responsibility as professionals. And eventually, thankfully, things did change. But I think there's a lot to be said about just being really aware, not just of them and us either, like of ourselves and the way that we perceive people and the stereotypes that we and boxes that we put people in that we're working with. Especially in the arts when we have to be so vulnerable to be creative. And then vice versa, and just speaking up for yourself and finding support. And we'll talk about allyship later on, where those support mechanisms are not available in your environment, because it can take its toll, right? Have you had, without going into detail, instances where you felt like your identity, whether it be perceived or factual for you, had affected the treatment that you'd received and maybe your experience and therefore your well-being?
Definitely. And I think it happens every day.
Right.
I think it's to the point where, because it's so ingrained in people, there's the fact that there's no harm from it, and there's no malicious intent,
right,
is the problem, because it's just known behavior, it's just learnt behavior. It's like, oh, you're a black woman, this is how I should be treating you. Or you're a black woman, you're saying this, so this is what you mean. It's like it goes through a machine of what I'm actually saying, mixed up into this is what society deems it as and comes out as, so this is what you said.
Yes.
And
completely.
It's that kind of thing of you'll be saying something, you know what you're saying is just plain, but it's still taken on with, oh, she's got attitude or whatever. And it's like,
and sometimes make you question your
it's
like your sanity and your cognition, everything. Like, okay, how can I reword this? How can I phrase this? And then that brings on, for me, it has brought on anxiety in previous times, because I'm so caught up in trying to I wouldn't say pander to, but to, what's the word? To rephrase, to edit. That's it. To edit and police my tone, my words, to make somebody feel comfortable in receiving me, when actually they should just feel comfortable in receiving me without any of the preconditioned things that you're saying are already there before we open our mouths. And it's not to say that we're always right and we're always going to be speaking like lovely, peaches and cream, but it is another hurdle that sometimes we have to battle with. I'd like to move us on, but I want to make sure that you're comfortable and you can see yourself. So, there's a question. There's a question. Oh, Claire said, so interesting. She's going to come back and join us another time. She must have been on her break and then she has to go and come back. So nice. Thank you so much for joining us, Claire. She was a lovely person that we worked with in the job we shared, right? So gorgeous, waving at you and waving at Mama Jade. And I'm going to, I think I'm able to re-add you anew, because I really want to make sure you are comfortable. So if you leave once more, I will re-add you, and hopefully your connection will pick back up.
Fab. Okay, leaving now.
Okay. Thanks again for all of those that are with us on May We Talk series episode 12. We are joined by Anu. She is an actress, an artist, and an entrepreneur. She's talking to us about identity in the arts as well as allyship, and we are getting into it. So I'm going to re-invite her because, as you know, this is live and sometimes we have some technical issues on either side. This is the most perfect we've seen you and had you. This is great.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, yes to this. And welcome to Flood Low, I think has just joined us. So I'm going to move on a little bit and ask, you touched upon it a little bit earlier, and only say as much as you're comfortable on in anything and you please. It's a safe space, but at the same time, it is the internet's out here, okay? So in what ways has your childhood and your upbringing shaped who you are and how you show up in the world, not how people see you?
I think, honestly, it's made me, my upbringing, and it's so funny because whenever I tell anyone, oh, I'm fostered, I know my mum, but we never, she never brought me up, but we're close now. It's always met with, oh, I'm so sorry. I had the best childhood.
Right.
It made me so dimensional because I was brought up by my nan and granddad. I call them my nan and granddad. And they are obviously 2 generations over. So they've given me values that grandparents, I guess, give people. So but I've had that firsthand, and they've just made me so aware of the world, how to treat people. Very much, you know, you teach people how to treat you. I always give everyone respect if it's given back to me. And thank you. It's so interesting to have been brought up by 2 incredible people and then to now start a relationship with my mom and kind of explore that side of what she is giving me as a grown woman now. It's
right.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that. Knowing you personally, I'm really happy to hear that. I knew about your background, and it's really nice to know where you're at with that journey as well. And thank you for sharing personal life with us. It means a lot to our platform because I'm sure there's lots of people that have that lived experience, but at the same time, either people don't talk about it or it's not I don't know, I just don't feel like it's commonly shared. I have maybe one friend that's been through the foster system, but I think within her group of friends, it may have been difficult to relate and for us to relate to her experiences and how that shaped her. So it's awesome that you're able to just confidently share that this has been a really key part in your formative years.
I think, and it is my identity. It will always be. And you're so right, it's not talked about enough because it still has negative connotations against it. Like, don't get me wrong. Some people, especially in foster care, aren't actually being cared for, and part of the system needs to be looked at because some people are going into foster care now for the money, and it's not okay. So obviously some connotations of the negative side of foster care is still there, but there's some incredible people out there that do amazing things for kids that don't have a typical life, and more people need to do it. There needs to be more genuine, honest people who want to look after kids in care, because foster care is so hard because it's not like adoption where, you know, you've adopted a child and that's then becomes your child. Foster care is hard because it's temporary. And most people in foster care will come from troubled backgrounds. I was very lucky that ours was private, and I was with my nan basically from when I was 5 weeks, and she knew my mum, and there's such a close relationship there, and I was with my brothers, and it was basically, it felt like adoption, but it never was that because my nan never wanted my relationship with my mum to go. So I was so very fortunate and so lucky, and I know that, and I know some kids aren't. So there needs to be more awareness about it because there needs to be better people in the system to look after these kids.
Right.
So it needs to be spoken about more.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a really, as I said, key part of who you turned out to be today. You can see the levels of empathy and respect, morals that you talk about. I firsthand have experienced you in a work environment in the arts, and I know that you stand on very, very firm values. So it's lovely to hear where that comes from. I'd also like to ask you, we've been on identity a little while. I don't know, do you have a little bit more time with us before we move on to allyship?
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. Because we've had a few technical glitches. I'd love to keep you a little bit longer. I'd love to ask you, in terms of your acting, how have the characters you've played aligned with who we kind of spoke about it earlier, but just a little bit more in depth. How have the characters you have played aligned with the idea of who you are? And the second part of the question is, what's your favorite type of role? Is it those whom you share similarities with, or is it those that are completely different to who you see yourself as?
So I think I've always ended up playing roles that are kind of like the carer, the caregiver, the warm soul. So obviously I understudied you, your lovely self.
Girl. I like to say we shared the role, but okay.
No, it was yours.
Okay. For those of you that joined us, we're talking about Mary Poppins. We did Mary Poppins together. It was a very key part in our relationship, and that's how we know each other.
Yes. So Mrs. Corey, obviously, she's vibrant. She's warm. She's, you know, the owner. And then from that, I've understudied Mrs. Phelps, who is again, she's
in Matilda.
In Matilda, yes, and she was obviously the warmest thing in Matilda's life, apart from Miss Honey. And then in Tina, I'm understudying Grandma Bajiji, who, not to give anything away, but she is Tina's. No spoilers. She was Tina's kind of warmth and care again. But on the flip side to that, I also cover Tina's mum, who is known for not being that person and is very cold and never gave Tina that love. So especially playing those two roles, I think playing the warmer roles come way more naturally to me. I think it's just inevitably kind of who I am. I am very much that person. So it's quite nice for me to play the roles such as Zelma, Tina's mum.
Yes.
Because it's a challenge, because I'm not naturally that way inclined. And you can dig into sides of yourself and sides of a character that you never thought were possible. So I think there's
you're getting to explore a range of ages there as well. World outlooks.
Yes.
And that's got to be a good thing also. I would say on a personal level, the show that I'm currently doing, which took me a little while to speak on because I needed to get, just get acquainted, get comfortable. So I'm comfortable-ish now. I'm currently in Harry Potter, and I will say that there is a lot of work to be done in the industry. However, if we're going to just talk about the positive for a moment, the roles that are available to Black women and people of colour at the moment, there's been a shift. And I think it's been a positive one. There's a way to go. We're behind America. Like, there's a lot of way to go. However, just within the one character that I understudy, she has so many sides to her available for me to play in this production. And like you say, it's like, you don't want to always be the stereotype of the Black woman. And her experience is like less about her being Black. It's incidental to the story, in fact. It just happens to be. And there'll be things that show up. Maybe it's her appearance, maybe it's her hair that's one in an afro, maybe it's something else. But aside from that, there's the range of, I'm not allowed to give spoilers either. So there's the range of her being dark, cold, detached, emotionally unavailable, but there's also the range of her being kind, efficient, a go-getter, a leader. And that's just within one character.
Mm.
And I think the more that we're able to see ourselves in these multifaceted range of ways as people, it means that the outside is something to be celebrated, but not always the thing that we're leading with, so that we can just be humans and
Yeah.
play characters that have different stories and range. And it's awesome to see that you're able to get that in your current roles as well.
Yeah.
Because we got range, man. We got
Range,
range.
girl.
We
It's
got
there.
range. Like, employ me. I got range.
I love it. And it's like, it's that thing of like, so obviously, you know, Michaela Cole is a pioneer for that. She is just an absolute queen for writing for us. And I was thinking about it the other day, like, it's crazy. She is one of few Black British women who's doing that.
Yes.
And we're in
She started from a very long time ago, though.
Yeah.
A very long time ago.
She was done when it was a play. Like, she has always been.
You good? Okay, great. Just lost you a little bit with the volume, but I can still see you. And while we're waiting for you to reconnect, I'll wave at my mom who has joined us. Hi, Mom.
Okay.
And you, I think we have you back now.
Great. So I also, apart from having just the limit on Instagram, I've also got one on my phone. So I think it says a lot about my phone.
I love it. I love it because when you're ready to focus, you focus in and the distractions have to fall away. I'm the same. I literally have to, I was quite rushed today, actually, I'm not going to lie, and I had to turn them all off just at 10 to, because I have the display goes down, screen save, the time limit on Instagram, like all of that. I completely, don't worry, I completely understand.
The necessities.
Yes. But we're talking about Michaela Cole and how she's managed to create a range of characters for Black women and give us different voices. And I really agree with that. And I also like with Michaela Cole, I love that you brought her up, that she doesn't make us, how can I put this? Just because we don't always want to be seen as stereotypes doesn't mean that we're not flawed. And she doesn't make us into these perfect, like, Michelle Obama characters. We're flawed and we're real and we have different outlooks. And you know, I love that she stood there with her shaven head and like hair wasn't a thing, but then it was like, then she had her wigs and she was playing. And I loved that she had this whole experience in I May Destroy You. This is what I'm referring to, by the way, when I talk about the hairstyles. With veganism, the conversation they had about that, the conversations around sexual identity and consent. These are things that I think often are taboo just within communities that are marginalised in this country anyway, so Black communities. We don't talk about them ourselves, let alone on a public forum. So it was groundbreaking, right?
Completely. And I think we all know representation matters.
Yeah.
And it just has to keep propelling forwards. We have to keep just building on top of that. Like, now that is just the foundations of how it should be.
Yes.
Because we are back of the time when, you know, there's only one Black character and it's the sassy friend. Like, it just can't go back to that. And my fear is that right now I hope it doesn't stay like this, but my fear is that it's on trend to be diverse.
I just spoke about this yesterday with someone.
And I just don't want to look at our industry in another 5 years and it's going back to how it was before, because it's taken us this long to get the bare minimum done. So we've got to keep the energy and keep building on top of it now, because this is just the beginning. And I
remember when I just started out, I was with Identity. I came from Nottingham, so Identity is now like this massive worldwide agency of school, but I was there at the grassroots. We were just in East London, like, so can we get some classes? So this fresh Nottingham girl just come straight down. And I actually was blessed as well to see Michaela Cole's journey, because she started, well, I'm not going to say she started there, but that was part of her journey. So I saw that. And so for me as a woman, as a Black woman in Britain, to see people like yourself, to see people like myself, to see people like Michaela, to see the person I understudy, Anu, is someone whose music I played when I was 9 years old. I understudy Michelle Gale. Now, I want to know, yes, in Harry Potter. So I want to know that in 10 years, 20 years time, when I'm doing whatever, maybe I'm working in psychology, that there's a young person or a little girl coming up that saw me maybe on stage covering that role one day, and they've gone on to do their acting career because they saw someone that looked like them, that was celebrated. It is a weird full circle moment for me to have a little girl, Riasha, looking and listening to Michelle Gale, to her music and seeing her on TV, and then I'm like in the building with her, like just undercover, understudying her role. That needs to be normalized. That needs to be normal. Our representation, our role models, all of those things need to be accessible because the dreams need to be attainable, and it does something for your mental well-being and your mindset to know that you can reach those goals. They are attainable.
It's seeing yourself in those spaces, and just knowing that it's a possibility and it's not a fight. It's so funny.
I love that. Say that again. I'm gonna make that a highlight. Say that again.
Knowing that it's a possibility and not a fight. I think it's so funny that you talk about Michelle Gale, because I'm pretty sure the first musical I ever saw was Beauty and the Beast. My nan took me to London, did the whole thing, and she was playing Belle.
She was in that,
she was playing Belle, and I remember turning to my nan, oh, she looks like me. Oh, I can do this. I can do it. And genuinely, it's always, I was like 4, but it's always a thing that's stuck in the back of my mind, like seeing someone on a West End stage who looks like me, and I was like, I want to do that. So please pass it on to her, because
I will. I'm going to make sure that that just gave me shivers. And I wanted, there's something to be said for dark-skinned woman do a role too, because this is no shade to anybody, because this platform is for anyone that identifies with the Black Womxn experience. So whether you are of mixed heritage, whether you are light in complexion, dark in complexion, somewhere in between, have the one drop, whatever, or you're an ally, this is for everyone. But at the same time, I'm speaking from my personal lived experience when I say seeing a woman of mine or my mother's complexion made even further an impact on me, because that was even rarer. So yeah, that's awesome that you saw her at 4 years old on stage, and look at us now.
Hey, but that was back in the 90s as well, where it was obviously not as common.
Really rare.
Yeah, just the
a princess, a black princess. Look how long it took Disney. What was the cartoon animation film that they had? Is it Tatiana?
Prince and the Frog.
Thank you. Yes, that took a little while. So she was already doing it in the 90s.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move us on a little bit, because I'm just cognizant of the time, and we've kept you for a little while. But this has been such an awesome convo. What should I ask you? I have so many questions for you, and I want to get to your art as well. Oh, I have one. Okay. Yes, this might be the last one about identity, because I want to move on. So based on the social elements of identity, and obviously what's happened in the past 2 years, the pandemic, which we cannot condense, but we also can't cover in full. Race, when we think about race, gender, sexuality, have you encountered any pressures or seen any advantages to your embodiment of these labels? So age, race, gender, sexuality. Have you had any advantages or pressures based on these labels when navigating the creative industry? We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think the way that I look on things, and I don't know whether this is my upbringing or just kind of who I am, I've been aware, but I've tried to pay no mind where people put me, because at the end of the day, people are always going to label you, and they're always going to give you an identity, like we spoke about earlier. But in my head, my only responsibility for myself is to pay no mind to it, because it's not adding anything to my life. And it's so funny because age has never been a thing for me. I've just been like, well, I'm this age, and I'm obviously getting older, but it's not ever going to pay any sort of importance in my life.
I wondered, as like, even as a dancer, which is an experience I can't and don't want to speak to, I continuously tell people I'm not trying to dance, but I knew, you know, that people don't listen. But as a dancer, I knew. Are there any pressures placed on you, or advantages maybe to being the age that you're at now that you've had in your previous career, or have you seen any disadvantages for others based on their age? Because that's an experience I can't speak to. I don't know about it.
Yeah, I think it's, do you know what? I think it's more of how people talk about it. And
right.
I don't like how people talk about it in the sense of, it's like, oh, you're getting old now, you know, you can't do that anymore. And it's like, well, why? Because if my body still permits it, then we're good to go. And I remember our Mrs. Wormwood on tour, Beck.
For which show?
For Matilda.
For Matilda?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And she was an older lady.
No, it just cut out. So you're great. So talking about Mrs. Wormwood and Matilda, and we're talking about age and how there may be advantages or disadvantages to that within our industry.
Yes. So our Mrs. Wormwood on Matilda, she was an older lady, and every night she's in the splits. She's doing everything.
Wow.
She's insane, and it's because that's her. She's a dancer, like. And it's so funny to see people kind of be like, oh, you know, people are getting older, but you can still do it. And it's like, that's how your body's been conditioned. Obviously, yes, your body's going to get older, but if you're looking after yourself, then your time span will be there. And it's so prevalent in our industry that because everything, as much as I don't want it to be, there is still an element of how you look. Kind of age. It is a prevalent thing. So I personally don't like the conversations of, you know, you're getting older, or you're past it. If
it has a negative connotation, when really what you're telling me is what you're actually seeing is, well, what you saw in that experience was completely on the contrary to that mindset of age being a burden or an issue. She was able to show up and do above and beyond maybe what someone even younger, her counterpart, might not be able to do, like because the stamina and consistency and endurance that she's built up at her age it comes from experience. So it may be something that even a younger person might go on and be able to do it for a week and be like, oof, you know what, I'm tired. So we shouldn't judge people, like you say, on those things. And I think there's a lot to be said to the language that we use, even about, you know, the way I describe myself and the way others see us and describe us in the industry. So I need to see the shows, man. I need to see. I've been out of London for a long time. I need to see the shows that you're talking about. I'd like to go onto your art a little bit with identity. And I know that you were, I say recently, but it must feel like a while ago now, you were featured, and you was featured in Selfridges, people. And I know that it was a project that was specifically highlighting the voices of women. I don't know if it had anything to do with mental health or poetry, or could you give us a bit of background on like what that project was, how you got that commission through your art, and how that ties into the themes we're talking about today, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. So I got a message on Instagram from a lovely lady called Daisy, and it was kind of like, hi Anu, I know your commissions are closed, but I've got something I think you'd be really interested in, so if you can, give me a call. So yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I'll end up calling her. And then she explained the commission to me, and I was like, yeah, it sounds amazing. She was like, yeah, and it's for a new brand, Bella Doll, and it's to be featured in Selfridges. And then instantly I was just like, what? What? Because again, like I said earlier, to this point, it still just blew my mind that people wanted to buy artwork from me, and that's not me trying to be like modest, like, oh, like it's
No,
genuinely.
it takes a while to grow into your strengths and your power, even though they're very obvious to others sometimes.
It's that kind of thing of you just keep doing something and it just keeps having results, and that one for me was very much kind of like, oh wow, this is big stuff, and this is potentially gonna be one of the biggest things I do with my art. And instantly,
did you know?
I was I know. Instantly, I knew I was going to put loads of pressure on myself to do well, because obviously it's a big platform. So I kind of just in my head had to really meticulously plan it out, because I just don't want to let myself down more than anything. But doing the commission was just amazing.
And what did she ask of you? Like, what were I know what it looked like, but can you describe it? Like, I know it was a tree and there were leaves that were
so
different extracts from women. So yeah, so can you explain exactly what that was?
So basically, there's a fabric of the companies that they ship to me.
Just reconnect for us. So they shipped you some fabric. Can you hear us okay? It's all right. Don't worry. This is live. It's hard.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We've got you. We've got you. So you were just saying that you got some fabric shipped over from the company that you were commissioned by.
And basically they asked me to draw anything what means to be. It was quite free range, but they kind of just gave me free range to do whatever I wanted with it. So they just said, we want to celebrate women. We want to make sure that everyone's represented in these leaves. So I think it was something around about 200 leaves I had to illustrate on. And yeah, it was a lot. So I ended up kind of separating them out. There were like light pink ones, denim ones, some like beautiful kind of pastels, some beiges in there. And I ended up kind of just drawing women's bodies, because we don't see enough of the actual naked body. As we know, it's always a taboo for a woman to be nude.
Or sexualized, when it doesn't need to be sexualized all the time. It can show up, you know,
completely.
Our body is just it's just the physical element, musculoskeletal element of us. That's it.
Yeah, literally. And it's just your body form. But yet, you know, it's not for the male gaze yet.
Right.
That's how it's always perceived. Even on Instagram, if you like, if I was to draw a woman's body form, it'd probably be taken down, because that is, to them, it's inappropriate. Yet you see torsos of men all the time.
Yeah.
But don't get me started on that. Let me stick to my point.
No, it's definitely included. It's definitely relevant, because you said the male gaze, and it's not even just the male gaze. It's like the male heterosexual gaze. Like, it's a very cis gaze. Like, it's a very specific gaze, and it's also a gaze that arguably has the most control over these forums. So yeah, it's relevant, basically. What you're saying.
So yeah, with the leaves, I just drew the female form, and then I got quotes from some of the women in my life, just real words from real women.
I gave one. Yes. I can't even remember what I said.
I've got
it was actually quite cathartic to do it.
I've got a picture of all of them, so if I find yours, I'll send it to you. But it was just, I just wanted real words of what it means to be a woman, or what sisterhood means to people, because there's always the cliches of what you hear, but it's so different for everyone. It's you can't put it into one box what it means to be a woman, you know, or how it feels. And I just think it's so important to honor people's voices and actually keep on getting that out there to people. And for that to be in Selfridges was the best thing about the project for me. To have people that love and know and have their words in the project was just
What an honor, and what a great project to be able to do in the midst of, like, you know, it's been quite a period of uncertainty and sometimes isolation. So to have all of those different voices and positivity come to you and for you to put it into a piece of work during a pandemic. It was the pandemic, right? It's been in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think we were just coming out. It was, I think, May. Right. Yeah, I think it ended up going up in May. But yeah, they contacted me in the pandemic, and yeah.
A great focus to have had. I'm going to move on to allyship, because although we've had some stop-starts, I like to keep Maybe Talk series kind of under an hour, just so that everyone can really sit with the thoughts, because otherwise it's a little bit overwhelming, I'm sure, because we're just talking on so many great things. But I want to make sure that it's digestible. So, allyship, we spoke about it kind of throughout. It's woven in with identity and inclusion, really. The noun definition I've got for it is active support for the rights of minority or marginalised groups without being a member of it, or I found on a website called Neuro Leadership, the practice of uplifting others who haven't enjoyed the advantages you've enjoyed, which I think is an easier, more palatable way of looking at it. So when we talk about it in the arts, how things are changing for Black people and also how it relates to our mental health are two really key areas for the importance of allyship. Specifically for Daughters of May, but you know, allyship is important for many marginalised groups also. What do you think makes a good ally?
I think listening. Listening more than anything, because I think what people often mistake with allyship is that they feel like they have to actually do something, and it's not always in people's capacity to actually do something, because it's depending on situations. So I think if you need to listen to the person you're trying to be an ally of what they need from you, rather than what you think you should do, because I think you get yourself into muddy waters then, because you're doing it out of the expectation rather than an actual want, you know?
Yes, I spoke about that earlier just in the intro. My understanding of it was, it's, you know, there's that saying of like making a seat at the table. It's not just making a seat at the table. I invite Anu to the table and then I speak on her behalf. That's not allyship. That's inclusion, but it's not allyship. It is making space at the table for Anu and other people that may be in a similar marginalized group or similar identities to Anu, and them all having a voice at the table to speak directly, rather than me inviting them like, oh, welcome you all, and then me speaking to and at them and not listening to what they have to say, or making an active change to take on board what they say and it change our environment, right?
Completely. Right. And it's so, I think, for especially as Black actors, I think it's so important that we continue to do that for each other.
Yeah.
Because I think as soon as we kind of segregate ourselves, then it then becomes, you know, like the elite of, you know, the Black race or whatever in the art, and that can never happen and should never happen. Because
it's so tricky though, because you don't want to just be friends or allies because you both are Black, because it's like, oh, I don't even really resonate with that person. But at the same time, you do want to also make sure that they know and you know that if push comes to shove and they need that support, that you can be there for them, because you may share, not always, but you may have shared experiences based upon those identities or descriptors that you have in common. So I hear that. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's complex. Have you experienced, sorry to cut you there, you can go ahead, and also keep in mind the question, have you experienced any good allies, and have you ever been an ally yourself, maybe for someone of a group that you are not part of?
I've experienced amazing allies. I have a lot of white friends that will always listen and will always act and my boyfriend is white, and he is an incredible ally. He will always call people out and continue to do the work because it needs to be done, not because he wants to be seen as anything.
Right.
He just
That's
knows that it's
important.
important.
It's not a novelty. It's like we were talking about earlier with the shift in the industry.
Yeah.
It's not a trend. We were black before, we're gonna be black now. For obviously gender is fluid, but like if you are just going based on you standing in your womanhood and that's how you see yourself, then that's not going anywhere either. So the support of these things cannot be a fashion. It has to be, and it can't be to be seen. It has to be because you actually feel like it's important to do the work.
Completely. And I think we saw a lot of performative allyship throughout the pandemic. Obviously, when everything in America was happening, and it was just very interesting to see kind of how some energy was carried on and some wasn't. And I think it just put a lot of things into perspective, because it's okay to not have put in the work before,
Yes.
if it's not completely in your life, like, of course you're not going to be known to all of the problems that are going on. It's just,
we're not even
life,
aware of all of the problems that are going on.
Literally. And I think it's that thing of people put a lot of guilt on themselves, especially when you're not educated in it, to quickly educate themselves, to
We just had a little issue with the line, but she's back. Awesome.
yeah. To quickly educate themselves, to quickly put yourself in a position of helping, when sometimes just educating yourself in a situation that's happening right in front of you.
Be present and listen. Right.
Yes, completely.
You don't need to be a civil rights activist. Like I felt like there was a lot of oh, my battery's gonna die. That's not helpful. I felt like there was a lot of people trying to find a cause, and also because we were on lockdown, there was pressure to be seen to be doing something online that aligned with all of these various causes, and that can also cause burnout for those that are within the marginalized groups, and also those that are trying to support them. That there was at one point when I was like, actually, I'm done with Instagram, because I did not want to expose myself to all of the damaging and very upsetting scenes of violence that we were seeing coming out of America, and also the riots and stuff that were happening in the UK. It was a lot to have to take on, and then to speak with my friends or peers that were not in the same racial group about it, and then expect to be expected sometimes to be an expert upon it as well. And I just didn't even want to. Sometimes I just want to talk about trash TV, or like sometimes I didn't want to talk about it because it was a lot. And it's just having those firm boundaries, but also having those people that are around you that care and can support wherever you're at with that. And the second part of the question, have you ever been an ally to anyone whose group that you don't share? And do you have experience of that? What's that like in the industry, maybe?
I think in the industry, it's more than, you kind of feel like, because it's such an inclusive industry, you are instantly, it's kind of a duty to kind of be an ally, because hopefully now we continue to have exclusivity, so you can't shut yourself off. I have a lot of gay friends, and I always try to be the best ally for them, because it will always be a struggle to be of any marginalised group. As things get better, of course it gets easier, but we have to be there for each other. It just has to be that way. So yeah.
Awesome. I can speak to that in that I think, especially being from a Jamaican background, especially being from a regional place in the UK, Nottingham, no offense to Nottingham, I always big it up, but I will say that it is it's different now, but growing up I didn't have any friends that I knew to be gay or to be of any other kind of sexual orientation other than heterosexual. And that doesn't mean that that wasn't the case. It means that no one was openly stating that, and probably for very strong reason and concern, because it was not a environment that was necessarily safe, accepting, or inclusive. I'm just going to say it, in my opinion. And I may also, you know, put my hands up and say I wasn't educated enough in that area of marginal experience, because if you are not educated, you do not know, and it's for you to do the work. And I'm so happy and fortunate that my journey in the arts brought me to London. And you know, one of my first backing vocal jobs was singing in a gay club. Like one of my first features, in fact, one of my first recording experiences was with my teacher and his husband in his house, and just like normalizing, like everyone's just out here just living their lives. You just not been exposed to other people that live their lives in different ways to you and to the people that you've grown up with. And it's important to see, be around, and even if you're not at the point of allyship, to understand that there is no better way. There's no way that takes precedence. Just because you come from one background does not mean that other person's way of life is better or worse. You are just all out here living hopefully your best life, and we should support one another in doing that. And where we do have those areas of uncertainty or grey areas, because we haven't had that exposure, we educate ourselves. Like you were saying earlier to your point about race, we educate ourselves, because then eventually you may become an ally, because we have to all at some point be an ally to someone, I think, you know. That's the ideal. So lastly, I think I'd like to ask you two little questions. What have you learned from looking at identities and courses outside of the ones that affect you directly? So you spoke about being an ally yourself, you pride yourself on that. So what have you learned from those experiences when you've had to stand or listen or be an ally and act?
I think I've learned that you won't always get it right. I think that's important to know, that it's okay to not, like we said, not know everything. But I think the foundation of it should be being there for people, just to accept, to listen, to grow together. Because I think as soon as an ego gets in the way of anything, then you will always have a problem. Like I have a phrase, and I say it all the time, it's like cage the ego, because you can't give something to someone or be there for someone if you have an ego of not wanting to be wrong or not wanting to say the right thing. I think if you go in knowing that you might make a mistake, then it's fine, because then you accepting that mistake and growing from it is better than you just teaching yourself that, oh, I feel like this is the right way, and not completely different. So dropping the ego and just being there and listening, I think, is the most important thing.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anu. And I want to talk about, just lastly, your art. I want to know what you're working on right now, the range of things that you create and design, how that, just speak on it as broadly as, or as, you know, as little as you like, how that's affected your well-being and where we can find you in your work.
So I'm currently making a lot of rugs. So it's called Art by New. I'm on Instagram, it's art_by New. And genuinely, my art is my safe space. It is just my place for me to kind of just get lost out of everything that goes on in the world. And like I said earlier, it's kind of like nanotherapy for me. just doing all these things and just having a focus and finishing something
Right.
is
Seeing that
where,
growth, that journey.
yeah. So with making rugs at the moment, so it's called tufting. My tuft guns isn't here, so I can't show you.
Your
But
what? Your tuft gun?
it's here somewhere. Let me get it out.
I have to do this. There's something called a tuft gun, everyone. I need this in my life. What on earth? It is a weapon of mass destruction. What is a tuft gun?
And honestly, it's like the best stress reliever in the world. So if I've had a stress today, I should be like, I'm going home to Tuft. Like, that's what I'm doing first of the day.
Going on the tuft.
So I've
That's
been
hilarious.
making rugs, and yeah, the whole process is it's quite long because you have to draw the design, tuft.
And you do line drawing, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I kind of started out line drawing, and now it's kind of transitioning into, I don't know what it is, but it's something.
It's art by new.
It's art by new.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just making things that make me happy. So whenever anyone buys something from me, it's kind of like it sounds corny, but it's genuinely a little piece of me, because it's just how my crazy mind works. And
no, but it's not corny, Anu. Like the way that even your initials drawings touched people, like you had the mind in bloom, and that inspired me, and I was like, that is exactly what I need for Daughters of May, like where my head was at with wanting to start this. So you're not even understanding, you're not resonating, you're not realizing how your work is resonating, sis. Like the images that you were producing at the very beginning, you continue to make, like even the one, I'm a super fan, I'll just say it, the one that you made the other day and you published, that was called Float, I think.
Float with it, yeah.
Float with it, and it's just got the image of what looks like a woman laying on her back, or she is a wave, or she's within a wave, or I don't even know. It's just so peaceful, and it seems fulfilling, and it just gives these feelings of being content, sorry. And yeah, it really spoke to me, like on a very emotional level. And I think if you can feel that satisfaction within yourself, but you're also giving it to other people, it's a really, really big deal. Like you've just done such wonderful work. And oh my gosh, my mum says my grandma used to make tuft rugs. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. So when you say that it's nanotherapy, it really is.
It literally is. Like, I'm not even kidding.
That's
like,
crazy. I didn't know that,
yeah.
Mom.
It's
Wow.
it's an old process.
Hey,
I think
you're bringing back these skills to the modern day as well.
yeah. I
And
think it's
popularizing it.
because I started punch needling, which is very nana. It's like you get the tapestry and you just punch away. And I made like 2 rugs punch needling, and they took me about a month to make each. So I was like, I'm gonna need to fasten this up.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can see Anu's process online as well, because you make these really cool like time-lapse videos where you can see it all coming together. How has that been for your patience? Like you mentioned, you just touched upon like seeing something through from the very beginning to the end, and using these kind of traditional methods of creating as well. Hi,
Yeah.
Amy, welcome.
I think for me, it's genuinely, I get an idea and I'm so impatient. So I'll get an idea and I'll be like, I need to do this now. So I'll just run to my room, like my little art room, and then I'll just draw, and then I just need to get it finished. I need to get, like, I'm like just in a zone, and I just need to see the finished product.
Right.
And then it's so weird because once I'll finish it, I'll look at it and I'll be like, yeah, I really like it. Okay. I'll sit with it, and then I'm like, on to the next. It's just
oh my
like,
goodness. So it's just this real craving and desire to just keep doing more.
yeah.
You're probably just chasing that happy feeling, like you said, that it gives you such joy, right? And you can see that it's written all over you. Like you're definitely doing, your purpose. Spoke about that in the last episode, and I think it's really clear that when you're walking in your purpose, like it's really hard work, but it also transcends in your being and like the way that you are showing up in the world, because you can see, like when I go to work, whether I work with children with learning difficulties or whether I work on stage, I know that the things that I love, and I will moan and I will be tired and I'll find it challenging, but like they're also, that's where I'm supposed to be. And when I'm do anything that's not in alignment with those things, I'm really, really stressed and I'm not myself. And I think it speaks a lot to just really finding out like what your purpose and what are the things that make you happy and bring you joy, so that even when they are stressful, you know, the end result, like the rug, is going to be like, yes, I did that, you know?
And it's also knowing that some people won't like it.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I make these things because I like them, and I'm just, you know, putting it out there and hoping other people do. But that was another thing when I started putting my art out there. I was like, oh, it's my happy place. Do I want to share it with people? Because then it's open for like criticism.
Right.
And I don't know if I want that because it's for me. And then I think I like posted one thing to like my personal Instagram, and people were like, oh, this is awesome, like this is great, like can I get one? And I was like,
yeah,
oh, wow.
I have a sweater, like I wish I had it today. It's actually at my mum's, but yeah, I have a sweater with your line drawing on it with one of my favorite images that you created, and I have my eye on a tote, and I have my eye on that piece that's float with it, but I'm gonna just calm down a little bit, and I'll get back to my consumerism soon, but I've got my eye on them. So I just want to say on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Anu, speaking about identity and allyship and the arts and how far you've come as well in your personal journey and professional journey has been really great. Have you got any closing thoughts or anything that you want to share with us before we say goodbye?
Just thank you so much for having me. Like you were, I never really told you, but you were like a big sis for me on Pop-Ins. Like you've taught me so much about like hair and like just like sister things and just being there for me. Like you were just such a gem, and I'm so.
I will literally cry. Just, as you know, I'm as sensitive. Like wow.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I know. I really appreciate that because you know, we were talking about allyship, and you gave a quiet, strong allyship for me and a sisterhood for me during that time. You know, it was not easy. We were on tour, we were in different countries, we were away from our friends and family. You know, when you work in a company as well, especially a large one, it's a microcosm of society. So there'll be outlooks that don't align with yours, and there'll also be outlooks that sometimes cause conflict. And to have the quiet knowing of like, we weren't like brethren, we weren't like with each other every day, like yo sis, like I mean, neither one of us talks like that, but you know what I mean, like we weren't in each other's pockets, but at the same time I knew that like if I couldn't handle something, I might just walk out the room and know like, okay, I need to go deal with this, or like or like we could share, you know, you could share and bond on certain areas like you were talking about, and it was just really nice, like you know, sharing of music and stuff, and there was definitely that bond, and it helped so much, especially when we were away, like away, you know. So it will always be a special time. I just hope that we get to connect in real life and on stage again. Can you imagine?
100%.
Come to the dark side, come to Potter, because I am sure as hell not trying to be in Tina. Like, you have to dance, right? Like, no.
I mean, some, but not like all parts.
No. How about no? Let me not speak myself out of a blessing, but how about no?
I mean,
come to us.
I need to see Harry Potter. I need to come.
You do.
And I think I'd love to do it. So maybe.
You need to. Listen, we did our first cover run last week, and just to, I know we're trying to end, but like just to speak to your point of like, you know, when you have that end product and you have to understand that people may not like it, that feeling, You know, I had to go on
Yeah.
for the first time, and knowing that, you know, I was filling Michelle Gale's boots, basically, the person that I've grown up with, like, and then this massive story that so many people love and cherish of Harry Potter. Like, just knowing that some people are going to really love what I do and some people won't, but how I feel is like most important, and telling the truth of the story is the most important, and just like owning that. And what did my mum say? Let them criticize, you own it. That's, oh my gosh, my mum's properly writing out this conversation. Yeah, she was saying that to you, I think, and I guess it makes sense with what I'm saying. So yeah, just really having that ownership in your identity and also in your work and in your art.
Yeah.
And on that note, thank you, sis. Real life meetings coming soon. I always say this, but it just needs to happen. It needs to happen.
Yeah, we do.
We're literally in the same. It is because of the scheduling, right?
It's so hard. Like days off. And,
laundry, food shopping, like sleeping. Like I was so tight. Like, for those that don't know, like I'm battling like with long COVID, and it's a real thing. So when I got my first day off today, I was like, I can't get up, you know. I cannot get up. The way that I rushed to do the setup of like the lights, the it's only a small setup, but you know, just to get prepared for today. So that's why I don't really do these chats that often, as much as I'd want to, because it takes a lot, and also, like you say, our scheduling is just wild. But with that being said, it's important to do these. It's important for us to connect. So if we're in the same neck of the woods and we can make it work, might be even be able to have a little reunion of some sort, invite our fellow friends. That would be cool, right? Yes. So let's try and make that happen in the next couple months. I've said it, so it's out here now. So we have to do that. We have to do that. Yes. Yeah, please. I have one comment just before we go. Flood Low said, absolute incredible person inside and out. I think I speak for everyone watching will agree. I believe that's someone that is on your platform. Anu, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that's fine. That genuinely made me cry, so I'm just gonna not. Thank you.
So yeah, take it. You are a wonderful person. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us today. I hope the rest of your day is beautiful. Be careful in that wind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's still rife. It's still like
it's crazy out here.
It's still there's a part.
And the way my afro set up, no, not this wind and not this rain. I like it.
Like, you know what? I can't.
I like it. I was like, you got the right idea, because I'm gonna have to like put on a baseball cap. It's just not the one in this weather. But yeah, take care. I can literally talk to you all day, but I'm gonna end it here, and I'll speak to you. I'll slide in your DMs.
Yeah. So
all right, take care, my dear. Bye. Bye. Thank you, everyone that has joined us here at Daughters of May. May We Talk series, episode 12, with Anu talking about identity and allyship. I'm just going to go through a few of your comments. This is a long one today, but we had some technical difficulties, so thanks for bearing with us. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, Miss Mac. Thank you, Aisha. Miss Tina herself, Aisha Iwandu. Wow, we go way back. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, online Lindsay, Grimshaw, Shania. I think this might be Matt Caputo. Wow, nice to see and hear from you. Sion, I think. Claire, Mama, Jade, Floodlow. So many of you, like so many of you. Shea Organics, always supporting. Thank you. And thank you, Mum. So without further ado, I'm going to end the chat and save it, because you know I always get super worried that it's not going to save. Thanks for joining us all. Take care, and we'll see you again on May We Talk series. Bye.